The 10th of August 2024. You're very welcome back. The channel's going okay. The video on them taking our driving licenses away, as was announced on the radio in a few weeks back, is on over 50,000 views. 50,000 views. I never thought it would reach that. It's a record for a video on the channel. Funny enough, not one person has taken issue with it. And that's a strange thing. You think somebody would say I'm wrong on that, but no. Now, I want to tell you about the Estonian Prime Minister, Kaja Kallas, Kallas. This is a lady, and she's Estonia, which is one of the Baltic states up in the, it'd be in the northeast of Europe, bought with Russia, and was once occupied by Russia as part of some agreement made during the Second World War between Stalin and Adolf Hitler. Anyway, they don't like the Russians, and I suppose Russia had no right to come in there anyway, but that's an area that's highly conflicted. In any event, she's been appointed Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Minister. She's banned from entering Russia, but she's also wanted in Moscow for what they call a crime. I don't know what the crime is. She's effectively head of diplomacy in the EU now. Her father was involved with a bank over there, the central bank, no big issues there. And she's been described as a person who eats Russians for breakfast. She hates the Russians. Now, she's big believer in seizing Russian assets. And this is a huge problem for the West. They seem to think that by stealing other people's property, that it's a one-way ticket. But of course, the more the West steals Russia's property, the more China's going to fear they're going to steal theirs. And they're going to leave themselves in a position that it won't be possible to steal their property. No matter what you think of anyone, if somebody puts money in a bank, it should be their money, not anymore, not in the New World Order. Now, her husband had a transfer company, and despite the fact that she says she hates the Russians, and there's no hate speech against her. How did that go if she comes out and says she hates the Russians? But in any event, her husband had a transfer company, and he continued to transport goods in and out of Russia after the war broke out and after this was all banned. So she took a bit of a hit there as being a hypocrite, and her husband being a hypocrite, she should have chastised him if that's what he was going to do. He was breaking the sanctions, essentially. So anyway, she's appointed to this top job in Europe, and this is a signal that the EU will under no circumstances be involved in any negotiations in any settlement with Russia. I've said from the beginning, this Ukraine war was capable of being settled, and it was probably be capable of being settled with Ukraine becoming a member of the EU. There would have to be protections for Russian citizens early on, but it would have to become a member of the EU, and that would have been something the Ukrainians would have liked. And when you see the way it planned out, you can sort of understand that. I think that was achievable, but now with this one at the helm, and effectively a Russian-hating minister in every respect, well, it's hardly likely. This one is going to be advocating the destruction of Russia. She says it should be divided up into its pieces and broken up. She wants the country destroyed. And of course, she hates Putin, and of course, anyone who says anything favourable about the Russian situation is termed to be all sorts of things, including a Nazi and all of this sort of stuff. But that's the story there, just to be aware that the EU, in appointing her, has really nailed its colours to the mast that there's no settlement with Russia. And this explains why Boris Johnson and Victoria Nuland flew to Ukraine to stop them having a peace deal. And there's over hundreds and hundreds of Ukrainian people dead because of the intervention of the EU and the USA in this war. Okay, comment underneath. Tell me if I'm wrong. We're living in an environment where the likes of me now is considered some type of a renegade. You either go with the EU narrative, with the United States narrative, or you don't go at all. And we have the situation where Europe is committing economic suicide. The Yankees, the Americans, blew up his Nord Stream 2 pipeline after Angela Merkel went to so much trouble building it. Not a mega with them, not a word. Oh, it's all right. Oh, don't mention it there. America has forced them to cut off as much of the energy supply from Russia as they can, and America's charging them 6 times, 5 to 6 times the price for what they get. And this is going to impact all our lives because it looks to me like German engineering and German manufacturers coming to an end. And that was the source of all our good cars out from the Japanese. So the thing is that they're making a complete mess of it. They're destroying the economy of Europe. And then they have the most expensive energy in Europe. And they're giving all away to big American BlackRock developments and all these big investment houses, giving everything away. So it's a bleak outlook. So I'm just bringing that to your attention so you realise they didn't appoint somebody with good negotiation skills, somebody who would try and knock a few heads together, be possibly in favour of some kind of a settlement. It's all or nothing. And that would look to me that the war in Ukraine could go on another 10 years. But the big thing there coming in is Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Will he get elected? I looked at the polls last night and he's beating Kamala Harris a little bit. And I think as the campaign goes on, the weakness of the Harris waltz ticket is going to become apparent. There's a good chance Trump could win. Now, how the EU and how this lady, Kaja Kallas, is going to handle somebody like Trump, who will immediately try to negotiate and bring about peace, and he will probably be well received in all those other countries because he realizes it takes two to tango. And so he may be very well received there. They may say, all right, Donald, come on, we'll have a go, see what we can do. And Zelensky has already made it clear that he would work with the Trump administration. He has really no option, but he still has the wit to do that. And I think when the history books are written, that Zelensky maybe will be considered of having got a raw deal. I think he made serious mistakes. I think he didn't think the Russians would invade him. But I think once he saw they were in force and he could calculate on the ground what was likely to come, I think he realised that it was worth giving a bit of negotiating a chance. Now, the thing is, the Crimea, he probably wouldn't settle on it. I don't know. But maybe it was. But now, anyway, whether they like it or not, this is the big thing that's on the horizon, the arrival of Trump possibly in America. And the EU is absolutely in absolute love of America. But Emmanuel Macron has said that the EU should not be a vassal, or it shouldn't be just a lapdog of the Americans. So he can see that even, but he's not listened to. It's the EU, Ursula von der Leyen. It's the EU runs the show, and we are after sending over the only renegade we thought we might get was Kieran Malooly. I'm sure he's more in favour of the EU and RTE and the woke governments as the next fella. So that's no hope there. You had your woman Claire Daly and Mick Wallace, they got booted out. So it's very hard to know where the Irish vote lies on all of this, where they lie. The last European election tended to show that the Irish are very much behind the EU and very much against Russia in all of this. It's just hard to know. But in any event, folks, I want to bring that to your attention. Long enough video there. It's only 8 minutes. So Kaja Kallas, Kallas is now the new head diplomat for the EU following the elections. We'll see you back for something else. Comment underneath. See you. Bye. Thank you.